opportunity. You thanked us for coming. I'm going to thank you, all of you, for giving up your time and making your way here to the Farm Centre today, and for allowing me outline my own party's passionate belief in the future of farming, the future of rural Ireland, and how together, and I use that word together, we can secure that future through hard work, through cooperation, partnership and respect. It's great to be joined by our own man in agriculture, my colleague and friend, Minister Martin Hayden, a man who has been steeped in farming his entire life. And I'm very proud that Martin, and indeed many others, running for my party in the general election, coming from a farming background. Can I begin by saying I'm very proud of Irish agriculture? And I want to say that intentionally, because I think all too often there's talking down about agriculture, talking down about farming. Everybody in this room and every farmer across Ireland knows there's a climate transition underway. We all get that. But we can say that and still be proud of Irish agriculture. We can say that and still say that we want to support the family farm. We can say that and still say that actually Irish farming forms the backbone of the Irish economy. And at a time where we live in a world where we are exposed to trade shocks and transatlantic trade shocks, it's more important than ever that we back Indigenous Irish business. And of course, there's nothing more Indigenous as an Irish business than the Irish farm. So I come to politics, I come to government, and I approach this election from that space as well, because I do understand and appreciate and respect that farming and food production are the backbone of the rural economy. But they're not just the backbone of the rural economy, they have this incredible multiplier effect in sustaining jobs and businesses right across our country as well. I've been Taoiseach for just 7 months. I hope in that time I've shown you that I am determined to work as hard as I possibly can and to speak up for our country and to speak up for your sector and to listen and work with you and to try and make a better country for all of us, including for Irish farmers. Indeed, I spent most of my summer travelling to agricultural shows right across Ireland, and that wasn't by accident. It was a deliberate choice that I wanted to make to reconnect my party and to connect myself with farming, with farmers' families as well. I do think I have to just call this out. For too long, farming has been spoken about in a way that others would not speak about any other sector of the Irish economy. Just wouldn't happen. And not alone would they not speak about any other sector of the Irish economy like that. It's one of the most important sectors as well. It has to stop. I have genuinely seen the stress, the strain, the worry, the mental health impacts on the faces of farmers and farming families. Indeed, I was at the Mockra rally. I know how big an issue mental health and well-being is as well. And if you're in a sector where you're constantly being talked at and told you are that problem, of course that's going to have an impact. Well, I want to say this. You're part of the solution. You're part of the backbone of our country. When parties launch their manifestos with great fanfare, and when they say we're going to pay for this and we're going to do that and we're going to do this in education, we're going to do this in health and we're going to do this for small businesses, we're only able to do it because we have a strong Irish economy. We're only able to do it because of the taxes you're producing, the revenue that you're paying. We're only able to do it because of our agri-food sector. So let's be clear in relation to that as well. Not only, we need to really look, I think, and see how we can make steps together to move beyond this feeling of vilification that many farmers have felt over the last period of time. And we need to stop solely viewing agriculture through one prism. You know, when you want to be elected to government, you're signing up to be able to do more than one thing at a time. There is a climate emergency. There's no sugarcoating that. It is the truth. The science doesn't lie. The planet is on fire. There is a need to take action. But we can't just talk about agriculture through that prism. We also have to talk about agriculture as the sector, the industry that it is right across Ireland. And of course, the climate emergency is not solely the responsibility of farmers. The farming sector is also imperative for a secure future, for food security, for biodiversity, the massive contribution that the agri-food sector plays to our export earnings. All of these things matter to creating a secure future in Ireland and in Europe as well. So I'm going to thank publicly not only the IFA, but absolutely the IFA, but also farmers more broadly for engaging with me and my party in the past and for continuing to do that as well. There's a general election underway in earnest, you might notice that. And I want you to know this. Fine Gael has a clear plan for what we would do in the next government should we have control of the Department of Agriculture or should we be sitting down to help form a programme for government. On this issue, we want to talk about regulation of the agri-food supply chain. We want to talk about the issue of succession, which is not just an issue on the minds of older farmers and parents, but indeed it's a huge issue for young farmers as well. We will put a laser focus on this issue in any new government. I welcome the fact that we now have a commission on generational renewal, but we don't need something that goes on and on and on. We need that to report within 100 days of a new government coming to office with an action plan, with concrete steps that we can take to address issues in relation to succession. We want to see farms passed on viable from one generation to the next. And that's why we're going to increase tax-free inheritance thresholds to €500,000 following on from our delivery. We also want to increase the threshold for siblings, nephews, nieces and grandchildren to €75,000 and to €50,000 for all others. We've heard you on the issue of support for vulnerable sectors. Fine Gael does have a proven track record of increasing support for these sectors. You may say not enough, do more, but we have started the process. We will continue to work with beef, suckler and sheep sectors, and we will introduce a permanent support for tillage farmers. You know, it's not enough to just do one-off. People need to have a certainty in terms of a permanent level of support for the tillage sector. Let me say this too. We understand the need to simplify the support system. I'd rather see farmers focusing on producing food, not filling out forms. We have to make things simpler for farmers. When I was younger, farmers talked about a single farm payment. Now we have multiple schemes, multiple deadlines, multiple terms and conditions. We cannot have farmers waiting on much needed payments or unsure of what they're owed from schemes like acres. We need to take a whole of farm approach to payments like there used to be in REPs, where farmers knew upfront what they were getting and they were getting it on time. To do that, we have to deliver a strong CAP budget for farmers. And I would say to you respectfully today, we need people with experience in Europe, experience of delivering in Europe, like my party did with Brexit. We need people who are not trainees in terms of the European project, because the next number of years matter. They matter for everyone in this country, but I'd argue they matter particularly for farmers. The next government will have responsibility in relation to the Common Agricultural Policy. I respectfully suggest to this meeting it is in the interests of farmers to have my party, which is a member of the EPP, the largest party in the European Council, the largest party in the European Commission, the largest party in the European Parliament, also being in the Taoiseach's office too, so we can get things done and deliver for farmers on the CAP as well. I have heard from you very loudly and clearly on the nitrates derogation. And I want to be crystal clear here today. I don't view the nitrates derogation as a nice to have. I don't view the nitrates derogation as something that farmers should have to fight for. I view the nitrates derogation as an absolute national asset on which a sector of our economy depends. I will do all I can to retain it, to protect it, and of course I will support farmers in doing their bit to improve water quality. And already the sector has come together. I want to acknowledge that. Already it's formulated a plan of action. But this is not just an issue for farmers. And this is back to the partnership approach rather than the lecturing approach. It's not just about telling farmers they have to improve water quality. Your sector's up for it and doing its bit. But we also need to see improvements from Irish Water. We also need to see improvements in municipal waste systems. We need to see improvements in forestry. We have to, though, put on that green jersey, because this is a national economic asset. I have zero tolerance for buck passing or parts of government working in silos when they need to work together in the national interest. That's the approach I've taken in my time as Taoiseach. It's the approach I will take if I earn your trust to be back in office after the election. So if I am the Taoiseach in the next government, I will personally chair a cabinet committee on water quality. It will reside within my department. It will bring everybody together to steer the national effort to retain the nitrates derogation, because this issue is too important for any one department on its own or any one sector. We have to pull together on the nitrates derogation, and we can retain it, but not if we leave it to farmers to do alone. This is down to two things. It's down to science and it's down to politics. We know what we need to do in relation to the science, but we need everybody to come together. And when we do the politics, we know what we need to do too. We need to work at a European level, at the highest possible level, to deliver around the European Council table. That's what I'm committed to doing, retaining the nitrates derogation. And my party, I think, does have... Thank you. I want to be very clear. We established a Department of Rural and Community Development, a department whose sole focus is on how we help invest and support in rural Ireland. Under my leadership, and if back in government, that department will be maintained. It is a department that has provided a lifeline in terms of funding to many, many community initiatives right across the length and breadth of rural Ireland. So I don't think this is a moment for division. I'm so fed up with the straw man arguments. Tell me whose side are you on? Are you with the farmers? Are you with the climate? We can be with both. We have to be united in realising our unique potential for food security, for biodiversity, and farmers' willingness and proven track record to deliver on lowering emissions and doing their bit as well. Because the evidence shows that agricultural emissions are down. Not everybody else's emissions are down, agricultural emissions are down. And this was further confirmed by a recent report from the Environmental Protection Agency. And we sometimes forget that these decreases are not achieved by huge conglomerates, but they're achieved by individual farmers putting their shoulder to the wheel, making changes for their business on the ground. We must support you and we must fund you in relation to that as well. I know a number of the issues will come up in relation to questions, but let me just say this. The CAP budget needs to grow. There needs to be absolute certainty that no active farmer will ever pay the residential zoned land tax. The nitrates derogation needs to be retained. Succession needs to be not a buzzword or a commission or a series of meetings, but an action plan within the first 100 days of government. And the nature restoration law must remain voluntary for farmers to opt into and must be funded to incentivise and support people. I will continue to fight for you. I will continue to work with you. Most importantly, I will continue to listen to you and then to act and to drive delivery. I'm asking you to give myself and my party that chance, and in return I'll absolutely have your back. Gurmain Magat.